So if you are with me right now on YouTube, welcome to welcome to the stream. Welcome to the show. This show has been streaming live since about 10 o'clock on Stream Me. That is stream.vtip.me. We are basically covering right now the biggest news of the day, and that is the manhunt that is going on right now in Maine. And I am going to stream from YouTube's, this is Maine, a local Maine station's YouTube channel. I'm going to stream their reporting on what's breaking news right now.
Because they had no idea what was going on around them. They were hearing all these reports. They knew there was an active shooter out there. And again, police are still looking for this man, Robert Carr. He's 40 years old. He's from Bowdoin. They are asking people in Bowdoin, people in Lisbon, people in Lewiston, and Androscoggin County asking people just in the entire county to shelter in place because they have not found Robert Carr just yet. They did find his vehicle last night around 11:30 at Projepska Boat Landing. That's in Lisbon. We know that Subaru they were looking for, they found it there. And again, police have confirmed 18 people dead, 13 injured.
So last night when we heard from police, we had very limited information, basically just identified who they were looking for and kind of reminding that warning of this person is armed and dangerous. And this morning, again in that briefing just a short time ago, is when we got a lot more information, including the number of families right now that have received probably the worst news we can imagine. To know that 18 people lost their lives last night on a Wednesday night in October, which is something I think all of us are still grasping. Don Kerrigan was in the briefing room with police, and the governor was there this morning as well, where we got this more recent information. He joins us now live once again. Hi, Don.
Hi there. A packed press conference here in Lewiston City Hall. This is the City Council chambers where they had their first press conference last night, and this one that ended roughly a little over an hour ago, a little less than an hour ago, excuse me. And as often happens with these press conferences with law enforcement in Maine, we learn a bit more, but not a lot more. There are far more questions that did not get answered than did. We know, as we've already been talking, the number killed and wounded in this. We know who they're seeking still, and that search goes on. They wouldn't give any details really about the search, not surprising, and very little about what they know that might have led up to this shooting, any motivation, any of those kind of things were not talked about. And those questions asked but not answered, including questions about mental health. Governor Mills didn't answer any questions, but she opened the press conference and at some point got fairly emotional. Mills said she loves Lewiston. A big part of her career happened in this city. She was the district attorney for this county and the neighboring county for more than a dozen years, and this place had a big impact on her. Said she met her husband here, all of that. So she is feeling this very strongly. The governor's voice was very hoarse. We don't know if that was from being up all night or from an illness, but she also talked about the emotional impact of this on everyone in the city of Lewiston. Take a listen.
I know that the people of Lewiston are enduring immeasurable pain. I wish I could take that pain off your hearts, off your shoulders, but I promise you this, we will all help you carry that grief. I ask Maine people to join me in offering our comfort to the families and friends who have lost someone, and in offering our prayers for swift recovery for those who are healing in Maine's hospitals today. This is a dark day for Maine. I know it's hard for us to think about healing when our hearts are broken. But I want every person in Maine to know that we will heal together.
Governor Janet Mills speaking just a little while ago this morning to the press conference here at Lewiston City Hall. She talked about how this affects many people, and that's something that I noticed even before I got here today. I stopped at a store that I go to often about 50 miles from Lewiston, And it turned out that a salesman for a company out of Portland who does business with that store, beverage salesman, was one of those shot last night in Lewiston. People here who were at one of those two locations, they may work with people from all over, from Bath Iron Works, from LL Bean, from schools, from businesses over a wide area. So this tragedy is going to cast a very long shadow, already is, and you know, it's probably going to take a while for people to recover from this. We've never had to deal with something like this before, thankfully, and this is tough. Back to you.
Don Kerrigan live for us at Lewiston City Hall, where they're holding a lot of these press conferences, and he touched on it a little bit. And we talked with Greg Marley with NAMI Maine last night about the impact that something like this has, even on our law enforcement officials and their families, our healthcare professionals. We just heard from Dr. Alexander, who's the Chief Medical Officer for Central Maine Healthcare. That's sort of the umbrella company. CMMC is one of their main hospitals. It's their flagship hospital.
Okay, I'm going to just break in here a little bit. Nothing breaking as far as news right now going forward with regard to this. Really, it's unspeakable. It's unspeakable, and unfortunately we do have to speak on it because it is a reality now. People are getting shot and killed, and Maine has no, you know, if you've been following this on Stream Me, you'll know I've already mentioned this, but Maine does not have a any kind of requirement for a license or to be registered as a gun owner. But they've also not had any killings, no homicides. Is it like 29 homicides in all of 2022? So certainly it is something that they have never seen. So, you know, all of their killings this year is going to be all in one day. In this one day, and it's just heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking and devastating. I want to get a little bit to some more news and go over Speaker of the House, what we know about this guy, Mike Johnson, and already the reporting is coming out about what we know about this guy, and it's not good. This guy is a very conservative dude, very much a right winger. I'm going to play this. Is from ABC right now. It's running a commercial. Once the commercial is gone, I will bring up the audio and move to that video. But we're already beginning to get reporting on who this guy is and what he's all about. And he's very much, some people have said he is Jim Jordan, but better coiffed and better dressed and all this kind of business. But it's already becoming quite apparent.
My office is going to be known for trust and transparency and accountability, for good stewardship of the people's treasure, for the honesty and integrity that is incumbent upon us, all of us, here in the People's House.
Republican Mike Johnson.
We're going to restore your trust in what we do here. You're going to see a new form of government, and we are going to move this quickly. This group here is ready to govern, and we're going to govern well. We're going to do what's right by the people.
It says Johnson was elected to represent Louisiana's 4th congressional district, which includes the northwestern part, in 2016. They're both evangelical Christians. He and his wife Kelly have 4 children. Johnson has been a vocal supporter of former President Trump and was one of the 147 GOP lawmakers who voted to overturn the results of the 2020 election. He served on Trump's legal defense team during his 2 Senate trials and impeachment charges. So he's MAGA, in other words. He has a long history of opposing abortion rights, like endorsing anti-abortion legislation that would effectively ban abortions nationwide after 6 weeks.
That you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
And we want our allies around the world to know that this body of lawmakers is reporting again to our duty stations. Let the enemies of freedom around the world hear us loud and clear. The People's House is back in business.
So there you go, a MAGA man who is now second in line to the president, a disbeliever of the 2020 election, a guy who spent a lot of his political capital trying to defend Donald Trump, is now Speaker of the House. It is a win for MAGA, a win for Donald Trump, a win. And by the way, just just to state the obvious, let's just say, the people who pushed the big lie are now, right now, in Georgia saying that they lied. They have just now, under oath, admitted guilt to the fact that what they were peddling and what this guy was trying to push, the Speaker of the House was trying to push, was all a lie. So what are we to make of who these people are? I think you can only come away with the fact that the big lie, the truth of the big lie didn't really matter. That this was an attempt, this was a coup, this was an attempt to overthrow the government. And both physically on January 6th and then the quote unquote paper coup, what they call the paper coup, which was a bunch of actions in the courts to try and throw out millions and millions of votes, the majority of which were black. These were not votes throughout the country by all peoples. This was wherever you could find the most number of blacks. In Georgia, in Pennsylvania, and in Wisconsin, they tried to nullify the black vote. This guy, this new Speaker of the House, tried to nullify the black vote in 3 states and would have tried to all over the country. So I just want to put a fine point to it. If a lot of people are wondering about, oh, is America racist? Is this a racist country? Let me repeat. The new Speaker of the House tried to nullify black votes in the 2020 election. Moving on. So it looks like good news for those people who believe in unions and unionization. The UAW and Ford have reached a tentative agreement that could end nearly 6 weeks of strikes at the automaker, the union announced Wednesday night. The tentative agreement, which was first reported earlier by CNBC, includes 25% pay increases over the term of the agreement. The automaker and the union participated in tense bargaining Tuesday and Wednesday in an attempt to finalize a record deal. The United Auto Worker Union and Ford Motor have reached a tentative agreement that will end a nearly 6-week strike at the automaker, the union announced Wednesday night. The tentative deal, which was first reported earlier by CNBC, includes 25% pay increases over the term of the agreement and will cumulatively raise top wages to more than $40 an hour, including an increase of 68% for starting wages to over $28 an hour. It also includes reinstatement of cost of living adjustment, a 3-year path to top wages, and right to strike over plant closures, among other significantly enhanced benefits. We told Ford to pony up, and they did. The tentative deal still must be approved by local UAW leaders and then ratified by a simple majority of Ford's 57,000 union represented workers. Auto workers who are currently on strike with Ford will return to work while the union's approval and voting process occurs, UAW's Vice President Chuck Browning said during the video with Fame. Ford in a statement said it was pleased to have reached a tentative agreement. The company is now focused on restarting production at the Kentucky truck plant, the Michigan assembly plant, and the Chicago assembly plant, where the union initially initiated walkouts of roughly 16,600 workers. Shares of Ford were up roughly 2% during the after-hours trading. The stock closed Wednesday at 11.54 shares, up 1.3%. The shares are down less than 1% this year. So good news if this remains if this remains accurate, if it remains true, this is good news for union members. And this is good news for those who believe in unionization, because what it means is that union pressure works. And this is also a win for working people, for poor people, for people who are looking for a better life and are trying to feed their families, trying to make their way in a very difficult time. And I think it is something that the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, this is a win for Joe Biden. Joe Biden was out there on the picket stand along with these guys. And this is also a win for, and I still cannot believe, I read yesterday how a bunch of Democrats in the Senate had signed on to a letter of endorsement of the unions, and only 30 came through. Only 30 of those people actually signed on to the letter. Senators, we've got, I think, 25 more or 20 more that should need to sign on. So good news for the union. Interesting story out of the Hollywood Reporter. Gen Z wants less sex in movies, TV study said. This is interesting because there has the thinking has always been that sex and violence sells, but apparently not to Gen Zers, which I find interesting. What does this have to say about Gen Zers today? So the report goes as follows. No sex, please. We're Gen Z. A new study conducted by UCLA found that American viewers between the ages of 10 and 24 wanted to see less sex on screen. In fact, a slight majority, 51% of the 1,500 surveyed, said that they want to see more content about platonic relationships and friendships, while 47.5% said sex isn't needed for most TV shows and movies, with 44% feeling romance is overused. Also, 44% say they agree with the statement, saying that they would rather clean the toilet than go on an online date. Wow, that is a sea change. That is, I guess, unusual, certainly for my generation, but it is the new reality for the new generation, the current generation today. Finally, this is an interesting story. This is being reported out of Newsweek, and that is the growing number of Russian troops are rejecting orders from superiors as Moscow forces suffer huge losses in offensive in Ukraine. Russian language telegram channel Astra said that every day it gets messages from families of soldiers who have detained in occupied regions of Ukraine as anecdotes about the lack of artillery, food, water, and poor command. Reports of growing dissent and localized insubordination, sporadic as they have been so far, are likely to irk the Kremlin, which just months ago was targeted in a full-blown mutiny. It was led by the late Wagner Group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin, who masterminded the mercenaries' march on Moscow. While the mutiny petered out as quickly as it began, Prigozhin himself was killed in an airplane crash and his troops jailed, sent home, or absorbed into the Russian military. Fears of a repeat have lingered. This month, Russia launched an offensive. Russian forces have reportedly suffered large losses of troops and equipment during heavy fighting around this part of the front and in a neighboring city, leading to a small-scale revolts and disobedience among Russian troops, the channel said. Astra reported that that there are at least 16 places in the occupied regions of Ukraine where Russian soldiers have been detained for insubordination, the largest at a nearby city. The phones have been confiscated and their contact with the outside world cut off, Astra said. It knows of 173 soldiers who have been detained, but this number is the tip of the iceberg. So when we talk about what it is that's going to turn the tide for Ukraine and for others, these are the kinds of things that I think it's important to look at. It's not always just about military strength and military might. It's also about how much people are willing to fight and how much your soldiers are into this battle. I'm sure, as everyone probably knows, that Russia is depending on the weather to move to their side of the equation. That they expect that the weather and the cold will soon work in their favor. But I don't know. I think that this story is pretty powerful if true. That Russia may be in a really bad way if it can't get its soldiers to fight enthusiastically against the enemy. Okay, that's it for me. If you want to support this show, you can, of course, send to our PayPal at paypal.me/vtip.ent. You can also like and subscribe this video. You can also click the bell to be notified when this stream goes live. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, this video live streams simultaneously on Stream Me. That's stream.vtip.me. The stream begins around 10 a.m. Eastern Time. It is going to end early today, right after I end this stream, but it normally will continue on and have additional material that probably would get me hit with a copyright strike if I aired it on YouTube, although I'm not too sure. I'm sort of new at this. So until next time, I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.